But yeah, welcome to the stream. Today I'm going to be writing up a Waifud Progress Report. Because I've actually done some work on Waifud and it's getting to be a bit better. It's almost getting to the point where maybe someone else could use it. It's probably be a while until that'll happen, but it's getting there. Let me just pull up my notes. Okay. I actually did write notes for what I wanted to put in the progress report. It's a progress update. I set up a nice playlist of what is it? It's like Tetris music, some soundtrack stuff, synthwave versions of anime music. Should be nice. Get a nice chill playlist. What you're listening to right now is the Tetris CDI soundtrack, and oh my god. Hello, Andres Twitch. Welcome to the stream. What did I call the last progress report? Oh, pressing Control W instead of Control F is probably the wrong thing to do. Oh, I called it Waifud Progress Report #1. Okay. So I guess this is going to be Waifud Progress Report #2. So then date 8/20. No, I'm gonna do this for a week and make it patron exclusive. You're getting a sneak preview to what people normally have to pay to see early. Tags. Waifud. ZFS. Oh, what else is a good tag here? ZAct. Those are good tags. Actually, wait, do I have a post series for Waifud? I do. So what we can do is we can remove this tag and promote that to a series. Hey, it's been a while. Actually, you know what? Let me just copy my notes into Emacs real quick. Admin UI with mod. The biggest thing that I've gotten done is the admin UI. I did a bunch of it on stream last weekend, but I did some off-camera mining and I got a whole bunch of things done. I'm gonna talk about Zess and how I use that in Clear CSS to make it look nice. I'm gonna talk about ZAct JSX support and TypeScript for dynamic views. I'm going to talk about the ZAct component model, which is something that I completely made up, but it sounds impressive, so... And I'm going to talk about how it reuses the Waifud API, so I don't need to implement stuff specially for it. Or at least as much special stuff. There's a couple pages that still, like, you know, don't reuse the Waifud API, but it could be fixed. I'm going to talk about my thoughts about turning it into the admin UI into a single-page app with this JavaScript library called Navigo. Let's put an intro up here. Say, introduction. High level summaries, not dummeries. So what else did I get done? Oh yeah, the HTML scrapers for distros. I'm going to talk about how I ripped out Passetto from the equation and no more YubiKey presses. No more YubiKey press in order to generate an API token. And I'm going to talk about the in the conclusion, I'm going to have the next steps. And I should probably look through my my mid-journey backlog to see if there's a good thing to use as the post art for this. I think I have an idea in mind for it though. I'm gonna pull up Streamfox. I'm gonna show you. So one of the images that I have in my Midjourney feed that I've been meaning to use on the blog, but just haven't found a good option here, is this one. Let me read out the exact prompt I used because it's kind of hilarious how like weird you can make the prompts and how decent of results you can get. So what I did to prompt this was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Windows XP wallpaper, Vaporwave style, anime influences, Miyazaki moment. And I get this painterly looking thing. It's great. Love it. Where's OBS? There you are. Since I wrote the last which model, that's Midjourney. As far as I know, Midjourney is the only one that lets you do custom aspect ratios. I am working on trying to get like access to one of those things that'll let me use like the 2060 that I have in storage for it, but I haven't been able to do that yet. Okay, where are you? There you are. Hey, it's been a while since I wrote the last update, and I've gotten a bunch of things done. I'm going to actually start with, what is Waifud? Yeah, Midjourney Showcase. Oh my gosh. So what I've noticed about like the different AIs that you can do for image generation is that they each have like a specialty. Midjourney seems to be like ridiculously good at landscapes. And like very stylized art. Like, you know what? Let me grab another one because, this one is one of my favorites. I don't know how it came out so perfectly, but, it what I asked for was a taco smoking a doobie with Hatsune Miku, and the only thing that it doesn't have is the taco and the doobie, but like everything else is so good. It's it's just fantastic. Like, has a nice gradient in the sky. I know, right? But yeah, I definitely have gotten a lot of fun out of using AI generated art to give my blog a splash of color. I have been using or on Waifud, my cluster oriented cloud in a box solution for people with too much. Don't you love it when the music has different volumes between songs? Gotten a bunch of things done to make you using it easier. I now use Waifud for all of my VM needs, and it is more than living up to my expectations. I am slowly working towards a point where other people will be able to install and use it, but I am making sure to take the time to do it right, as opposed to just shoving it out of the door and running away. I'm gonna have to write up some, like marketing copy for Waifud at some point. It's kind of a hard thing to like quote unquote sell to people because it's really an abstract thing, which is like an abstract solution to a problem that basically nobody has. Over the last 6 months, I've managed to land these major features into Waifud. A real admin UI, or the beginnings of a real admin UI with an admin UI in a browser. Automatic, or not, it's not automatic, but like scrapers for Scrapers for distribution images. Addition and removal of a half-baked authentication system using Passetto and YubiKeys. Okay, finally an actual explanation for Waifud instead of Dark Souls lore. Yeah, sorry about that, Doc Rect. NixOS modules to deploy Waifud. What else did I put in there? How exactly do you summarize like 6 months of effort? Well, I mean, like for authentication, it really depends on like well, yeah, git log, I could do that. But in terms of what you should use for authentication, though, it really depends on like, you know, what the heck you're doing, like what your security requirements are and such. But like, oh, a better name generator. For new instances. Oh, man pages for waifu cuddle. And there I'm also going to talk about the changes that I made to waifu cuddle, like upgrading it to use clap instead of struct opt. Yeah, you can see that there's a huge gap where I didn't really have to touch it basically at all since May, and I've been using it since then. Like, not saying that this thing isn't stable. It's just that like I didn't like do anything, but like the thing was so stable and like useful enough that I didn't have to care, which is a really great situation to be in. Imagine I have a whole local server cobbled together from old laptop and I want to try it for fun. Yeah, when I get to writing the installation instructions, I'm going to include things like, yeah, you're going to need to set up a NixOS server, and it's going to need to use ZFS, and yeah, it's nowhere near like the point where basically anyone but me can really use it, because it's it's not that I don't have it's not that it's like undocumented, but it's like there the only real documentation right now is just sort of like my notes in my head and some of my notes that are on like actual physical paper. I'm gonna cover each of these in your own sections. We just have to learn telepathy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's like... That's why I said that I need to, like, write everything out. I need to write out the installation instructions, so I'll put that in there. The next progress report will probably be in, like, a couple months. Finish the admin UI. Some kind of crap marking site. The act, is that your custom JavaScript framework? Yeah, guilty is charged. Let me pull it up. So the act is mostly vanilla JavaScript, except it has a whole bunch of convenience functions, like this U function, which creates URLs. Any similarities with microvm.nix project from Astro? I don't know about it, but Waifud is more focused on running like Ubuntu. So like, let's say I want to create an Ubuntu VM and I want it to run on Logos, which is one of the machines in my home lab. I want it to have a gig of RAM, 25 gigs of disk space, and I want it to be on my tailnet. Oh, of course, there's still that there. You know what? Let's just go over to the admin UI so you can see from here. Why Ubuntu? Because most of the time when I need to test things, I need like some random Ubuntu version or some random Debian version or something that isn't NixOS. So, you know, I'll just fire up an Ubuntu, do the thing, and then, you know, slay it off with the deleted since button. It'll give you the IP address of the VM, and this name is what you can use for Tailscale SSH. So then I can SSH into Z at that machine. And we can see that I just made a new Ubuntu instance. It's on my tailnet because it has a Tailscale IP. And if we look under the process tree in systemd, we see that there's Tailscale there. And then there's a login process. And then there's bash. And then there's the PS tree instance. NixOS makes so much sense to pair with VM infrastructure. Yeah, it's on my list of things to do. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I have so much stuff to do. I have mostly been using Ubuntu for this because, like, I know how to do it with NixOS, and a lot of Waifud's goals was to try to make me learn how, like, the cloud works, and it turns out that most of the cloud uses Ubuntu. You know what? I'm going to actually document this down in the post. I'm going to say Waifud is a pet project of mine that I've been working on for almost a year, or for over a year now, to try and recreate the magic of the cloud on private infrastructure. Yeah, Waifud's main thing is that, like, once I create the instances, I want manual imperative control. So, you know, like, I can do stupid things to them, like, I don't know, break its PAM config and then have a button to be able to reset the infrastructure or just recreate it from scratch if I need to. I wanted to use it as a way to explore what the cloud could be if we re-evaluated all of the design options from scratch. And made things conceptually simple. Right now, it has two main parts. Waifud itself to order around machines running ZFS and libvirt. Waifu Cuddle. Waifu Cuddle to give instructions to Waifu D with CLI commands. Talk about Rotbart, and I'll explain the name of I'll explain Rotbart's name. It's a Xenoblade reference. These two things let me manage virtual machines across my home lab so that I can create disposable easily recreatable and create fungible virtual machines. Based on the templates that give to cloud providers. I wanted to see how far I could get with by mostly reverse engineering things, and I need to add the metadata D. Oh god, no, please no. Yes, I mean it in fungible in terms of, like, you know, if I make an Ubuntu, like, that one Ubuntu is basically fungible for another Ubuntu because it's the same base image. I'm treating the machines as cattle and not pets. Is that a better metaphor? I wanted to see how far I could get by mostly reverse engineering things and making things up when reverse engineering failed. Each of these things does a lot to make the Waifud experience a lot more refined and easier to deal with, so that I can go into detail about what was changed, why it exists, and the benefits it brings. I use Waifud on stream constantly whenever I need to make a virtual machine as part of explaining some concept. It's explaining concepts. There we go. Ubuntu, yeah. I'll make this section, what is Waifud? Does that help answer your questions on what Waifud is, Docrect? It's it's basically just like a private cloud in a box, or I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but it's like Oxide at home. Yeah, it's kind of like conceptually similar to Oxide, except it's completely different. Hey, thanks for the sub, C. Lauren. Welcome to the stream. Admin UI. You know what? Let's move this paragraph down here and put that there. Less custom hardware for now. Hello, Naturstellar. Budget cloud in a box, yeah. I have had thoughts about like making like a Waifud in a box, but I'm also pretty sure that nobody is going to buy it. So I've kind of shelved that for now. It would be an interesting way to try to make like a productize an NixOS install though. One of the biggest pain points in Waifud is I can't use .jar files, it's Rust, not JavaScript. Has been the fact that I've needed to SSH into one of my development machines in order to... I'm going to pretend you didn't say that. Oxide has inspired me to look into doing something similar for my own home lab, so this is interesting to me. Yeah, I was... You know what, I'm gonna... You can mimic Oxide using NixOS and home labs, but, like... The main thing that Oxide does different is that they have, like, an admin UI. This is fine most of the time when I am actively hacking on things, or... Can I see an admin demo of Oxide? I don't even have access to freaking Oxide stuff, man. I work at a different tech company. I work at Tailscale, not Oxide. And trust me, like, most of the tech people I know have been, like, really really wanting to get their hands on an Oxide rack, but oh my gosh, they only sell them in, like, whole cabinets. And, like, I want an Oxide rack, but I don't 40 a whole heckin' server cabinet want Oxide. Man, putting ice cubes in a water bottle does a lot to make the water just really cold. It's great. When I'm actively hacking on things or need to reboot a VM, I usually have an SSH session open to one of... From what I recall, they're using, like, a variant of, I think, SunOS? But they have, like, a lot of, like, crazy, like, custom silicon, custom microcontrollers, custom firmware. It's nuts. They have, like, a completely separate hardware chain of trust. And this really, you know, tickles my fancy as a security person. This is fine. Most of the time I usually have an SSH session open to one of those machines. I can easily do what I need while hacking away. However, reality is not nice enough to fit into clever boxes. Sometimes I just want to quickly reboot a virtual machine, or take a look to see... Oh, I should add the sphere packing algorithm here. Yeah. Where I should put the next instance. I take a glance. Ooh, I can use the word glance. One of the great things about being a writer is that sometimes you can break out words that sound cool, like glance. Glance is a really cool sounding word. Yeah, the waifus are in crates. That's the lore. It's the deep lore. Take notes. It'll be on the test. This is one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite songs off of the Tetris CDI soundtrack. Hi, Bustinart, or Burstnart? Burstnart? Burstnart. I'm gonna go with Burstnart. I am working on the progress report for Waifud. I did some work on Waifud on stream last weekend, and I also have done some work on Waifud, with some off-camera mining. And I'm just writing about what's gotten done and what my plans are for the future. In order to scratch that itch, I made an admin UI. Let me just get a quick screenshot of the admin UI. And I'm off camera. I am logging into my Backblaze account so I can upload it to B2. Go to the blog folder. Go to upload. Oh, right. Windows screenshots don't automatically go to files. Okay. So then I hit save. And I go save it to pictures. Hit save. Drop files here, and then I hit pictures. No, I don't want lumbersexual macchiato today. Not today, Satan. Here's a screenshot of its homepage. Put that there. I have a terrible idea. Making a compression extension that's .door. Because when is a door not a door? When it's a jar. Oh my god. You can't see it right now because I don't have a hand tracker, but I am, like, double face palming. Actually, you know what? It's the internet. I can get a visual. There. See? No. I like that's in your Google history already. Yeah. Facebook, the home of the most boomer memes. Yeah, I know, right? There's a bunch going on here, so I'm going to do that writer thing where I hold you captive and write a bunch of words to explain what is going on. Exposed as boomer, canceled, sarcasm. Yeah, I only use Facebook when I have to now. I'm old enough that, like, Facebook was the cool place to be in high school. Does everyone have small faces in amateur golf? Okay, so let's talk about the nav bar. So that I can, like, talk about this, I'm gonna demonstrate the nav bar for you. So, by default, the nav bar, when you don't have anything selected, just shows you, like, there's Waifud, you can make, there's the list of distros, and then there's a list of instances. So if I go to the list of instances, the nav bar turns into what are called breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are a navigational concept where it's like, it's little hierarchical things that sort of leave a trail of breadcrumbs for you to go back where you were. So when you go down to an instance, you see that, you're in the Waifud panel, you have instances, and then the instance that you're looking at is Fiar Hoot Hoot. Or Fiar? Fiar? I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce the yas sound in English. Fiar Hoot Hoot. And most importantly, this is not a link because this is the active page that you're looking at. So if I click the instances and I create a new instance, etc. So it's like as you go, there's like this little trail of breadcrumbs to get you back where you were. It's a really neat little concept. Well, I live somewhere where everyone has Facebook Messenger and no one uses iMessage, so Americans talking about platform login make it not applicable arguments. In English, pronunciation is decided by roll of dice. Oh, do I have something to roll? No, wait, I have Google. Oh my gosh, you can't actually have Google roll the d20. Oh, yep, 3, I failed the AC check, it's Fiar, okay. I failed the wisdom check, so it's Fiar. Can Google roll more than 20? Probably, with like damage modifiers and such, you could probably get it to go more than 20. Currently, when you start in the admin UI, the navbar panel will show a high list of the high-level objects that you can peek at in the admin panel. That you can peek at. High-level Waifud objects. It currently links to the distribution page. distribution list page and the instance list page. Terminology hint: an instance in Waifud is what a virtual machine is the combination of a virtual machine, a base image, a machine to run it on, and finally a user supplied cloud init configuration. Oh god, even the CSS framework? Yeah, I made my own CSS framework. It's not really a CSS framework per se, it's more of just like... Okay, so this thing really started out because, like, I wrote, you know, this kilobyte of CSS, and I was maintaining it in multiple places. And, I wanted to have a place to put it, so I made a repo called groovebox-css because it kind of looks like Groovebox, and it also has light and dark support. But then, after I made Zact as a shitpost, I had the idea of, oh wait, maybe I should have my CSS match. So in a moment of weakness, I renamed it to Zess. As in zest without the T. So I have, like, basically an entire full stack setup with, you know, Rust and Axum on the back end. And then on the front end, you have Zact and Zest in order to create the ultimate in user experiences. Terminology hint. The nav bar So then we'll just put the same screenshot again to save people having to download it again. When you click on something, the nav bar will change in order to highlight where you've been. Man, you are dedicated to shitposting. Chat truly reflects on the streamer. Oh yeah, I know this person from other places. They're definitely earning their shitposter license. Daily reminder to wet the streamer, yeah. Hydration has been achieved. I have this lttstore.com water bottle with, like, I think it's like 48 fluid ounces of water in it, and a frickin' heckload of ice. the music too loud? No, the music's just barely not too loud. Cool. Extra credit if you can recognize where the music's from. Here's how the nav bar... Oh. Should probably put Emacs back in there. Which color? I own the white with black printing. I have purple on pink. This is implemented on the server side. The only reason I can watch the stream is last night I made the glorious mistake of chugging 3 cans of Monster at 11 p.m. shortly after I woke. Isn't the daily limit of Monster supposed to be like 2 cans per day? Like, above that, isn't it, like, dangerous in terms of the amount of caffeine you get? Like, I mean, it's your life, but, like, holy crap. Caffeine overdose is not a good way to go. This is implemented on the server side using a nation of some CSS on an unordered list and a clever bit of Rust. I am afraid for you, because someone has to be. The main way that this works is a base template function signature looks like this. Okay, so then I go over here, I go down to source, admin, mod. I hope you have someone to watch over you. I'm pretty sure they do, but don't worry, I worry the same thing. Use mod markup. The crumbs type contains a list of tuples. The tuples have 2 components in them. The name of the crumb with crumb metadata. The name of the crumb, such as instances or the instance name itself. Maybe the admin UI relative link to that, to the crumb. Grab this out of there, and then actually wait. I should note the monsters are like all at once. Is that supposed to reassure us? Don't worry, Doc Rect. That person does a lot of things that most people would find... Oh, what's the delicate way to say this? Objectionable? Yeah, that's a good word. Into this HTML. I'm cutting off to the point where it's mod. I intentionally word things in the worst way possible, yeah. That person does have that habit. This allows me to have the breadcrumbs generated automatically without me having to care about them. Oh, I might actually get to the end of my playlist before I thought, so I'm gonna dump in a bunch of things at the end of it. Get some, like, aquapunk or something. Yeah, let's do aquapunk. That sounds cool. This allows me to have the breadcrumbs generated automatically without me having to care about them. It's pretty nice, and I hope it will make my life easier when trying to navigate Waifud admin console. You know what, let's talk about mod. HTML templating is annoying. You know what? I'm also gonna do that writer thing, and I'm gonna show you, like... Here is mod. Mod is a macro in Rust that lets you write HTML. So, like, as an example, here's the example one they give. You know, you have the HTML macro to start it. You create an h1 element with hello world in it. and you make a paragraph with the intro class and say this is an example of the, and then you make a link to mod's GitHub repo with the text mod, and then it says template language. That's basically it. It, like, the more fancy things it has is, like, you know, control structures for if and else, or if let, or looping with for, declaring variables with let, you know, pattern matching, all the rest stuff that you know and love. In the past, I've used things like Ruct. Do template HTML from variables passed to it in Rust. This works, but it's kinda crap. But it has a kinda crap user experience. I've been keeping my eye on a library called mod that lets you do HTML templating a lot easier. Mod is a Rust macro that lets you write Rust-like things and have it get turned into HTML for you at compile time. It's really nice, and I wanted to experiment with it more. I use it in Waifud for all of the HTML in the admin console. So now let's talk about Zess. Like any good hacker, I have my own CSS femto framework. Okay, so lore hint here. Femto framework is a joke on micro frameworks. And calling something a femto framework means that I'm saying it's even smaller than a micro framework that I use on basically everything I write. It allows me to have a uniform, brutalist style that people have told me immediately identifies that I wrote or made something. Has also have a uniform brutalist style that people have told me immediately identifies that I wrote or made something. The only major project of mine that does not use Zess is my own structure framework named Zess. The only major project of mine that does not use Zess is this website. I was going to make it use Zess at some point, but I'm lazy and spend a lot of my free time writing these articles. So something has to give. Zess is very minimal. It's designed to style component, style native HTML components so that you can stop caring about them and focus on the web app. The programmer dilemma, spend time to save time. Yeah. At first, I was using Zess without making any changes. You know what? Let's just paste the CSS for this because I figure the CSS may be interesting to someone. Feel free to steal it. Femto coming after Mindpro follows the mobile network's way of skipping SI prefixes. Okay, yeah, cool. Then I'm doing it right because I'm doing it wrong. Based on tail auth metadata and make it in the upper right hand corner of the page. Yeah, it's micro nano femto if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that sounds about right. At first I just edited Zest like I'm used to, but then I had a spark of brilliance. Zest has a Nix package that I use in order to help shove it into various other projects. one of the tools that the build process uses is clear CSS. Oh, clean CSS. Oh. It's not clear CSS, it's clean CSS. Oops. To minify the CSS within an inch, it's live. I recently found out that clean CSS supports minifying multiple files into one CSS file, and I wrote a parable script to do that. Call it SH because it's a shell script. Is that multiple? Yeah, that's a typo. This is part of the reason why I do this on stream, because you people are good at catching typos. Oh, don't worry. There's also a bundler for the JavaScript using Dino, because like, where is this? This isn't actually JavaScript. This is TypeScript. Like, I'm literally dead ass writing TypeScript in and then using Dino to compile that down to JavaScript, and I even use JSX with ZAct. So like, you know, I have, you know, these input boxes, or I have, you know, a select box with all the options dynamically or created from a list of hosts. I have this too, which is like the select box for distros, where it takes the list of distros that it got from the Waifud API and then maps it into options in a select box and creates all this. That's going to be next in the ZAct, JSX, and TypeScript with Dino section. You have even replicated bundlers. Your mutation in web dev is complete. Yeah, it's... I mean, yes, I have independently rederived a lot of these things, but like, I'm also like keeping them very small and very focused. I just run that script when I want to test the CSS changes. I was then able to do everything I wanted. With ease. Okay, now we get into the fun part. I'm more of a reuse for resize kind of guy. Yeah. Move that down there. Oh, this is my favorite song in the Tetris Effect soundtrack. Okay. Hey, your project, your BS, yeah. I mean, something nice about all of this, though, is that, like, I understand all of the components, and I can have a mental map of everything that's going on. So, you know, like, I don't have create React app or something, you know, spitting out, like, 5 entire copies of Wikipedia worth of dependencies. What was that one? There was this one JavaScript project that became infamous because it imported, like, I think it was the entirety of Microsoft Encarta's database in encyclopedia in JavaScript just for an Easter egg, and it caused people's node modules and you know, like, bundled assets to be huge until people complained enough that they just removed the Easter egg. Fun times. I originally wrote the act as a satirical take on React. A JavaScript You say this as I have our production app right now. I'm arguing with devs on to fix the mock data in the front end bundle. Yeah. Every day I'm survived at your continued survival. Yeah, you and me both, fam. By the way, Cognito Hazard warning, this is going to get stuck in your head because it's so good. It's JSX, a syntax extension. One of the things I really didn't understand was the point of was JSX, a syntax extension in JavaScript that lets you write HTML inline in JavaScript. After writing and maintaining applications with the Act, I understand the point of this. Don't eat solder. Please don't eat solder. I feel like I shouldn't have to say this. Please don't eat solder. I hope she's seeing someone for that. I have recently cursed Ziact with JSX support, and I'm going to link to my Ziact post here. No. Solder is not for eating. I feel like I really shouldn't have to say this. Oh my god. Jesus fucking Christ. As a part of writing the admin UI for Waifud, I use that with something I completely made up called the act component model that lets you how do you say this? That turned my the act component model. That turned my that standardizes the main logic for a page. Here's what a Waifud admin page can look like. Solder is not for eating. A PSA, yeah, it's PSA, don't eat solder. I should not have to say this. I know better now, okay. Let me just copy some code out of my, God, you make me feel old. This makes it a lot easier to understand the structure of the pages in question. The default HTML for importing one of those JavaScript libraries will also pull in the page function for you. Use mod pre-escaped. Combined with the manually inline. The act functions there. Combined with the manually inline Zact functions there. Everything gets taken care of by itself. It's pretty great. These pages also reuse the Waifud API as much as possible, which means that I don't have to reinvent the Waifud API, but outputting to HTML instead. I'm very happy with what I've done with the Waifud admin panel, and I hope it will be as useful as the CLI tool long term. HTML scrapers for distro images. One annoying thing that Linux distributions like to is that Linux distributions not like to do, but just do is that they make the links for cloud images change constantly and only have a few images on their site at once. I understand why they do this. Storing all of those images is expensive. Expensive. This is very annoying with how Waifud was implemented previously, because the giant doll file of images and hashes were all assumed. Some distros have a current image symbolic link, and at 304 redirects. Yeah, it's annoying. Like you can work around it, but you have to write the code to work around it. They were not. You literally did that just after I took a swig of dihydrogen monoxide there. They were not. So now I scrape the HTML with the help of the scraper. Great. It does what it says on the tin. It lets you turn into HTML into structures you can loop over. Have you ever considered turning yourself into a text-to-speech? I've thought about doing speech-to-text-to-speech. Or like AI-driven voice modification to change my voice. Oh heck, I need to use that library as a reason to learn Rust. Here, let me put the link in the chat for you. You know what? Actually, let's do story time. Let's show you how this works. Because I figure this may be interesting to you. So let's take a look at the Arch Linux one for a moment. So with the Arch Linux Cloud images, you're given let me turn down the music just a little hair. You can't hear it as loud as I can. But the Arch Linux thing basically has, this like HTML listing of the images, right? And if I right click, I don't want to take screenshot. Oh, I can take screenshot? Okay. But I right click and view page source, it's very simple HTML. We have latest, which is a symlink on the server, so, that's not going to help us for figuring out which one is actually the latest. But we can look, and we see all these links. So then we can go to the bottom link, and we see that there's one for the 15th of August. And then we can also use some heuristics. We also know that the one that we want is the cloud image, which is the one that has cloud in it, and we want the qcow2 file, which is, the one that actually has the disk image. So then we just take that and filter it down. So what this does is, first it makes a selector for our elements, and it does that once, so because it's like the same selector over and over. And, it grabs the list of images, it parses it, it gets the last element, and then it puts that into the release base, and yeah, and then, it grabs the it grabs the page for the one that we want, it parses it, it goes over all of the links on the page by selecting all of the elements, you get back an iterator over the elements. It filters out the elements that have the A elements that have a link on them. This is all of them, but, you know, I'm covering my bases, defensive programming, that stuff. And then what it does is it basically uncases everything. It uncases the things from HTML elements into just strings. And then it removes everything that does not start with the one that we want. And and then it will turn all of those from andster reference strings into, like, you know, normal owned strings, and then collect that into a list. And then I'm making an assumption that there's always going to be 4 files. There's always going to be the QCOW2 file, there's always going to be the SHA-256 file, and there's going to be signatures on both of them. I don't do the signatures yet. I need to do the signatures. It's just not a priority right now. So, doesn't unwrap panic and terminate the program? Unwrap can panic. But it's not going to panic here because I've already filtered out everything that is none. So at this point, it's all going to be like some options. And then, you know, because we have that list, we can get the image URL, we can get the SHA-SUM URL, we grab the SHA-SUM, we turn it into text, we split out the hash in hexadecimal. And then, you know, we get the image URL, and we create the distro object to pass back and get put into the database. It's not difficult. It's like basically the same thing you do with Beautiful Soup in Python, but it's just you know, annoying fiddly code. I have to deal with 4 variants of SHA. The concerned look on your avatar face is priceless. Yeah. That and some annoyingly fiddly code. Working with HTML tends to lead to a lot of easy, tedious code. Yeah. I think in order to get all of that code, it took me like... It took me like a couple hours. But, you know, I had some Star Trek on. Just kind of just jammed it out while I was waiting for something else to happen. Every so often I run Waifud distro scrape to update this list. Here, I'm gonna run Waifud distro scrape for you. Yeah, those errors are known to exist. Okay, the HTML scraping was actually fast. The thing that took the longest was figuring out how to scrape the SHA-SUM files. Yeah, it's so great. Like, you know, I update Arch, I update the Ubuntus. I also have Rocky Linux and Amazon Linux in my lists. Or at least I do on the Git main version of Waifud. So if I just have it build Waifu Cuddle first and do that, yeah. No NixOS image. There is a NixOS image that I've been working on, but the real answer is it's complicated. It's really hard to make a generic NixOS image, is the problem. It's not hard, it's more just annoying. Because NixOS and Cloud Init fight, and NixOS wins. The classic what config.nix should I use? Yeah, basically. And a lot of the stuff that Cloud Init does sort of is like trying to do the same thing as NixOS configuration, but it's just different enough that it doesn't work out. So it's annoying in practice. Introduced and removed Passetto for authentication. The problem with convergent evolution. Yeah, basically. Should totally remove the time run hydration reminder. I have to remember how to do that, and I'll probably do it off stream. Waifud's API is kind of powerful. It lets you manage virtual machines and potentially delete data or make a machine become full of crap. I did not want to be known as that one person that gave people root over the network. So new channel redeemed for Lord Clang to spend points into. I've been thinking about doing experimenting with some crowd control things. I have some ideas for how to do it with my stream overlay in Godot that I've been hacking at. It's not ready though. It's nowhere near ready. So I'm using the old hacky one right now, just as a stopgap. So I made a stopgap solution. Passetto tokens. Crowd control for code streams. What is fail? Oh, it's bits. Okay. Thanks for the bits. I've been looking at VPupper. It's a VTuber program written in Godot and packaged in Flatpaks. Yeah, I've been looking at that too, but I I stream on Windows. Like, I stream on Windows because a lot of the stuff that I do just works better on Windows, and I don't want to fight things. I just want to, like, make things, you know? And if I spend more of my energy making things and less of my energy fighting things, then, you know, it makes for better things for everyone. Crowd control let us change a random semicolon anywhere in the code to a Greek question mark or whatever. Okay. Compilers actually have cases in them to point that out because of that meme. Yeah, it was bad. I ripped it all out, and now I use tail scale for authentication. What's a good page that I could use to explain tail auth? I don't think I've actually explained it out anywhere. Maybe the blog post where I explained. Maybe the Grafana one would be good. Yeah, let's go with the Grafana one. The high-level idea is to do this. Only have your API visible over tail scale somehow. Every time an HTTP request is being processed, that's definitely lucky. Yeah, it does sound like a very dangerous combination, but you apparently survived. Are you some kind of immortal? It turns out that human bodies are a lot more hardy than we give them credit. The high-level idea is to do this. Only have your API visible over tail scale. Every time an HTTP request is being processed, do a whois request on the remote IP address with tailscale D3. There is no step 3. I implemented it with this middleware, and now I'm just going to link to the random part of Waifud's source code that does it. and I'll link to the Axum documentation. It works as an Axum extractor to grab tail scale. No. I'm not letting you do that. What does that look like on multi-user systems? You should really use tag nodes for that, and it would show it as, you know, the tag. You know what? Let me show you what it looks like from one of my home lab machines. So let me grab this. Okay, so what it shows up is as tagged devices. And hello, tagged devices. I believe this machine is like actually going to show up as like the tag for all rest, which is the name of my home cluster. I'm only crazy, not insane. Yeah. You're not totally... You're at least somewhat attached to Earth. I hope. Just add some more things to the playlist because I'm running out. That's not a good feeling to have. And annotate them with... And then annotate them with that metadata. The universe forbids me from learning programming for the same reason. Yeah, tagged devices are basically, like, you know, machine service accounts. That's the word I was looking for. Service accounts. Like the real suggestion is, you know, like use ACLs to prevent this. It would be nice if there was like some like opaque capability strings associated with things, but those don't exist right now. I can say that because it's in a public-facing GitHub issue. Why am I forbidden from music creating software? I'm gonna say 2 words, and they're gonna be, and those words are Space Jam. I will not go into further detail. See, Lauren, though, there are some reasons why you would want a service account to manipulate things in Waifud, though. I've had an idea of making like a CI system or something that provisions a new VM with Waifud for every job, you know, installs compiler tools and whatnot, and then, you know, gets rid of it at the end of a CI job if it passes, and if it fails, then keep it around a little, but maybe just, you know, pause it. Everything I make in music creation software sounds basically like Space Jam as well. Okay, the problem is that the theme song of the movie Space Jam is basically one of those like universal beats, and as a result, it basically mashes up with anything. So I'm not allowed to use music creation software because I create Space Jam mashups. Or do things where I mash up like Justin Bieber's song "Baby" with the theme A from Tetris for the Game Boy, which, by the way, is a really, really good mashup. Isn't that a reason we should allow you to use music creation software? No, I'm not trustable. Okay, now we need to make a meme. Ah, there we go. Then save that, put that there. Okay, now we need something else for Passetto. Maybe I should use the Rust Passetto library as a... Oh, this is perfect. Save image as... I think we need to listen to the Space Jam mixtape. Are you people really asking for that? Do you want a philosophical experience? Hold on, let me just get this meme made real quick. I am going to make the most inscrutable meme image ever. There. Where is that meme? Where did Windows save it to? Oh, Y2. Oh, there it is. Okay, you asked for this. You people asked for this. This is why I am banned from using audio editors, because I mean, I just don't know what the name of this song is. Now you understand the deep lore. There we go. That is the meme. Rockbart. Rockbart. Okay, so here's some Xenoblade lore here. Territorial Rotbart is the name of a super boss that shows up in early areas in Xenoblade games, and it just kills you. Oh, this hurts so much to listen to, for the record. I love that Rotbart is in this article. Oh yeah, Rotbart is like a brilliant shitpost. Rotbart is what I call the library that does the name generation for Waifud. So what I did is I put all the names of every Blaseball character, the names of all the moves in Pokemon for Pokemon Vietnamese Crystal, all the ponies from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, every Pokemon name, and all the Xenoblade 1 and 2 enemy names with all of the like adjectives and nouns separated, so that you get completely unhinged names. Like oh, I made a program that I call Unique Monster that you know, puts all of this into a blender, so you get names like Scarlet Nidoking, or Kamikaze Hollywood, Reckless Garbage, Armor Sunspot, Ratchet Latch, Mud Rascal, Giga Azuki, Shrug Entia, Ancient Mary, Reb Whooper, Lightspeed Musharna, Rebel Dartrix, Daksha Esper. Add Metal Gear Solid code names. Okay, if you can get me a list of them in JSON format, I will. Some of those could be culture ship names. At one point, I did actually get I did get territorial Rotbart out of this, which was hilarious, and I should have taken a screenshot. Yeah, you're listening to an accordion do dubstep. No, we're listening to Skrillex. This one is tagged as postmodern in SoundCloud. Fletcher Wetchup. Officer Ageshu. The name generation Waifud used to be powered by a bunch of JSON files that had a bunch of data I scraped out of fandom wikis. It would pick one of those names randomly. However, this is boring and not nearly as unhinged as it could be. That feeling when you feel like you need to sneeze but you don't, but you feel like you need to sneeze but you don't. In Xenoblade games, there are super bosses called unique monsters that are usually very high level, very tough to kill bosses scattered around the world, so you are likely to stumble into them and get totally wrecked. The naming pattern of these unique monsters is an adjective and a name. This gets you things like there, you asshole. Let's get you things like Territorial Rotbart, the terrifying monkey of doom that wanders around one of the first areas in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Gormott. Is that spelled correctly? Yes, it is spelled correctly. This YouTube video is getting totally demonetized. This is actually an ironically banger mashup. This is not unhinged enough to make my trollish heart smile, so I took a look at all of the monsters in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I found similar patterns. There are names like... There are usually adjectives that modify base monster names and different adjectives to correlate with different strength of those monsters. So I chucked everything into a blender. Then I added some laundry sauce in the form of all of the names of Blaseball. That was a philosophical experience. Of all the names of Blaseball players. Every Pokemon I could find. And all of the names of every pony in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. This is... Yeah, it's that web game that was to baseball what Kingdom Hearts was to Disney. That's a good way to explain. That's a good way to explain it. This is unhinged enough to make my trollish heart smile.
Can't take it anymore. You live on the timeline. I just bought a Porsche. All this shit makes me feel crazy. Got mad calling text Jamie. I don't wanna hit another refresh. I just wanna reset.
No, don't chug another monster. Also, this is 100 gex. Clearly life is too boring for you. Oh my god. I may release Rotbard as a separate library on crates.io if there is sufficient demand. Oh, I'm almost getting to the end of this. Denim gorgeous, yeah. Let me just put the Nix run command in the chat. It'll take a bit to compile because it has to compile all of Waifud to get that one binary. But if I do end up making it its own tool, I will make that easier. Okay, and hey. Also, that is a good way to easily generate memorable names. Yes, that's like part of the magic of Waifud. It's like on paper a bunch of terrible ideas, and like that's the point of a lot of fun with like Waifud and Z-Act. Z-Act on paper is a bunch of terrible ideas, but in practice it's actually somewhat useful. Like, annoyingly useful. Oh gosh, I should probably write like a diatribe or two about all the weird stuff Z-Act does that makes things easier.
Oh shit, I tried to smoke my money. I'm pinching crumbs out of my pocket. I'm smoking weed that smells like dog shit. My phone is sitting on the table. Thank God I thought I fucking lost it. I just bought a house for the weekend.
With this newer version of Clap, I can generate man pages.
I guess the devil's in the details. I guess it's all about the timing.
Definitely should not on that stream. That was a bad thing to do. I need to have a folder of like Twitch safe music. Maybe I should just go past that and skip over Gex for this. The ideal domain for the API version is premium and stupidly expensive. Yeah, I'll come up with something. Oh, here's a Tmux command of the day for you. Break pane. It basically allows you to break a Tmux pane into its own tab, which in practice is actually incredibly useful. Oh, right, I need to actually save screenshots. Break pane? What did you think break pane was? Oh, break pane. Just press your Tmux shortcut key, like. Coming soon to a cluster near you. The waifucuddle.1 man page at an early stage. These are the things I want to work on next. Waifud currently... Oh, music's loud. Yeah, Nyx does have support for man outputs. I'll figure it out. Waifud currently runs at a Tmux session on one of my development machines. I need to stop doing this, but I am still actively working on it. When I get to a point where I am happy enough with it to not actively work on it all the time, I will get it working on my home lab and then write up how to replicate that. As part of the first release of Waifud, Senna, what is the name of the waifu? Kashiwazaki. All the names of Waifud releases are going to be named after, like, waifus I think are good. It should be feature complete and be able to do everything that the waifu cuddle command can do. Some kind of crappy marketing site. So he once told us that every post includes something to piss off Hacker News. Will the anime-ness be enough? Oh yes, they absolutely like, Orange Site is very angry that I named this project Waifud. Yeah. It would be cool to have waifud.ziso.net have a bunch of shit posty marketing speak to try and hype people up to wanting to use it. This will also end up being the home of the online documentation. Their hate only makes us stronger. Something like that. So a lot of social media algorithms are based on engagement. And people arguing with each other in the comments causes a lot of engagement. So by intentionally trying to like fuck with hacker dudes and them falling for the bait every goddamn time, it only makes me more powerful. You cracked the code, you should sell influencer courses. I might. I just have to figure out how to do it. Unlimited power, yeah. It would be neat to move the metadata lookups into some kind of metadata service running at 169.254.169.254 like you do in AWS. I've been calling this idea Waifud-metadata D. And was thinking about implementing this component in Go and having it manage its own WireGuard config with a user space. Then having it manage its own WireGuard config. Isekai D. Oh my gosh. That's officially its name now. The other reason why I stream this stuff is because it helps me name things, because that is absolutely beautiful. This is required for V0.2.0, but it would be nice to have some kind of algorithm automatically suggest a machine to run a new instance on if you don't specify one. I call it a sphere packing algorithm, because trying to put compute jobs into computers is like trying to hack spheres in a box. It works, but not too well. Waifud is currently licensed under the terms of the Gay Do Crimes license. Maybe anime is a bigger sin in their eyes. Yeah, it is or something. As a way to ward away companies from using it in this early state. It's not in an early state anymore, so this license isn't helping as much. Ah, don't you love it when you take a drink of water and your VTubing tracking just totally freaks out? I hope this look into what I have been doing with Waifud and the like. Is interesting. I want to make this a tool that I want to use every day, and I hope that I can eventually make it into something you can be happy using every day as well. The BK Do Crimes license, yeah, that's the license that I used mainly to make people like go away. The main difference is that the terms are be gay and do crimes, which is legally unenforceable because it's difficult to know what crimes actually are, legally speaking. The difference is that no lawyer is going to like the license. Yeah, basically. So then I'm gonna grab this image. What do we call this? Call it Colorful Bliss. Okay. Japanese when. I don't like it. Like, Itsu doesn't sound very good, though. So now I'm making... Crimes generically is not a thing. Well, yeah, it's not because lawyers... Yeah, like, I think, like, legal scholars have said that it's actually impossible to know what crimes you are committing at any given time. Just with the number of laws and how they all intersect. Like, the average lawyer cannot give you a full list of laws that you are breaking. It's kind of hilarious. Hero images munged. I'm just gonna go to my mid-journey folder. I'm gonna select all the colorful bliss images. And then we're gonna add the hero image. Okay, it's loading all the posts. And then now it's time to look over the entire heckin' post. And it is a 21-minute read. Hey, it's been a while since I wrote the last update on Waifud, my cluster-oriented cloud-in-a-box solution for people with too much hardware and not enough things to do with them. And I've gotten a bunch of things done to make using it easier. I now use Waifud for all my VM needs, and it is more than living up to my expectations. I use Waifud on stream constantly whenever I need to make a virtual machine as part of explaining concepts. I am slowly working towards a point where other people will be able to install and use it, but I am making sure to take the time to do it right as opposed to just shoving it out of the door and running away. What is Waifud? Waifud is a pet project of mine that I've been working on for over a year now to try and recreate the magic of the cloud on private infrastructure. I wanted to use it as a way to explore what the cloud could be if we reevaluated all the design options from scratch and made things conceptually simple. Right now it has two main parts. Waifud itself to order around machines running ZFS and libvirt. Waifu Cuddle to give instructions to Waifud with CLI commands. These two things let me manage the virtual machines across my home lab so that I can create fungible virtual machines based on the templates that distributions give to cloud providers. I wanted to see how far I could get by mostly reverse engineering things and making things up when reverse engineering failed. Progress. Over the last 6 months, I managed to land these major features into Waifud. The beginnings of a real admin UI in a browser. Scrapers for distribution images. Addition and removal of a half-baked authentication system using Paseto and YubiKeys. NixOS modules to deploy Waifud. A better name generator for new instances. Man pages for Waifu Cuddle. Each of these things does a lot to make the Waifud experience a lot more refined and easier to deal with. I'm going to cover each of these in their own sections so that I can go into detail about what was changed, why it exists, and the benefits it brings. Admin UI. One of the biggest pain points in Waifud for me has been the fact that I needed SSH in one of my development machines in order to do things with it. This is fine. Most of the time I usually have an SSH session open to one of those machines and can easily do what I need while hacking away. However, reality is not nice enough to fit into clever boxes. Sometimes I want to just quickly reboot a virtual machine or take a glance to see where I should put the next instance. In order to scratch that itch, I made an admin UI. Here's a screenshot of its homepage. There's a bunch going on, so I'm going to do that writer thing where I hold you captive and write a bunch of words to explain what is going on. Mod. HTML templating is annoying. In the past, I've used things like ruct to generate HTML from variables passed to it in Rust. This works, but it has a kind of crap user experience. I've been keeping my eye on a library called mod that lets you do HTML templating a lot easier. Mod is a Rust macro that lets you write Rust-like things and have it get turned into HTML for you at compile time. It's really nice, and I've wanted to experiment with it more. I use it in Waifud for all the HTML in the admin console. Breadcrumbs in the navbar. When you start at the admin UI, the navbar will show a list of the high-level Waifud objects that you can take a peek at. It currently links to the distribution list page and the instance list page. Take a look at the top of the page here. Terminology hint. An instance in Waifud is the combination of a virtual machine, a base image, a machine to run it on, and finally a user-supplied cloud init configuration. When you click on something, the navbar will change in order to highlight where you've been. Here's how the navbar looks when you go to the Create an Instance page. This is implemented on the server side using a combination of some CSS on an unordered list and a clever bit of Rust. The main way that this works is that the base template function signature looks like this. The crumbs type contains a list of tuples with crumb metadata. The tuples have two components in them. The name of the crumb, such as instances or the instance name itself, and maybe the admin UI relative link to the crumb. That is unpacked into this HTML template with mod. This allows me to have all the breadcrumbs generated automatically without me having to care about them. It's pretty nice, and I hope it'll make my life easier when trying to navigate Waifud's admin console. Here's the CSS that powers that. Feel free to steal it. Zess and Clean CSS. Like any good hacker, I have my own CSS femto framework named Zess that I use on basically everything I write. It allows me to have a uniform, brutalist style that people have told me immediately identifies that I wrote or made something. The only major project of mine that does not use Zess is this website. I was going to make it use Zess at some point, but I'm lazy and I spend a lot of free time writing these articles, so something has to give. Zess is very minimal. It's designed to style native HTML components so that you can stop caring about them and focus on the web app in question. At first I was using Zess without making any changes to it. Then I wanted to add a little profile picture based on tail off metadata and make it in the upper right hand corner of the page. At first I just edited Zess like I'm used to, but then I had a spark of brilliance. Zess has a Nix package that I use in order to help shove it into various other projects. One of the tools that the build process for that uses is Clean CSS to minify the CSS within an inch of its life. I recently found out that Clean CSS supports minifying multiple files into one CSS file, and I wrote a terrible script to do that. I just run that script when I want to test the CSS changes. I was then able to do everything I wanted with ease. I originally wrote Zact as a satirical take on React, a JavaScript library that makes it easier to write front-end applications in browsers. One of the things I really didn't understand the point of was JSX, a syntax extension to JavaScript that lets you write HTML inline in JavaScript. After writing and maintaining applications with Zact, I understand the point of this. I have recently cursed Zact with JSX support as a part of writing the admin UI for Waifud. I used that with something I completely made up called the Zact component model that standardizes the main logic for a page. Here is what a Waifud admin page's JavaScript can look like. And, we have the JSX import source being Zact. We import some Zact functions. There's parameters for the Hipsum API. There's, the Hipsum component itself, which basically takes, an object and extracts the text field out of that object. And then it returns a div with the paragraphs inside of it mapped to paragraph objects. Hipsum. Oh, have you not seen Hipsum before? Let's take a detour for Hipsum. I'm Baby, Jianbing, Wayfarers, Pinterest, Fixie, Sartorial, Affogato, Fitcred, Kogi, Hammock, Two-Souled, Normcore, Glossier, Flannel, Fanny Pack, Subway, Tile, Rachette, Hell of Asymmetrical, Disrupt, Drinking Vinegar. That Lord Ipsum thing, yeah, basically. This makes it a lot easier to understand the structure of the pages in question. The default HTML for importing one of those JavaScript libraries will also pull in the page function for you. And then we have this import.js function, which returns a pre-escape string. And then we make a pre-escaped formatted string, which creates an HTML script tag that imports the page function from, that name that we got passed in. It inlines some Zact functions, and then it calls R with an async function that awaits the page. It grabs the root, it deletes everything in it, and then it appends the page to the root. Combined with the manually inlined Zact functions there, everything gets taken care of by itself. It's pretty great. These pages also reuse the Waifud API as much as possible, which means I don't have to reinvent the Waifud API, but outputting to HTML instead. I'm very happy with what I've done with the Waifud admin panel, and I hope it'll be as useful as the CLI tool long term. HTML scrapers for distro images. One annoying thing that Linux distributions do is that they make the links for the cloud images change constantly and only have a few images on their site at once. I understand why they do this. Storing all of those images is expensive. This is very annoying with how Waifud was implemented previously, because the giant doll file of images and hashes was made under the assumption that everything was permalinks. They were not. So now I scrape the HTML with the help of the scraper crate. It does what it says on the tin. It lets you turn HTML into structures and you can loop over. I use that and some annoying fiddly code to do things like parse SHA-256 subfiles. I have to deal with 4 variants of SHA-256 subfiles at the time of writing. It does work though, and every so often I run waifuctl distro scrape to update this list. I need to figure out how to automatically run it as part of Waifud. Introduced and removed Pasetto for authentication. Waifud's API is kind of powerful. It lets you manage virtual machines and potentially delete data or make a machine become full of crap. I did not want to be known as that one person that gave people root over the network, so I made a stopgap solution, requiring authentication with Pasetto tokens. I bootstrapped that authentication with YubiKey presses. Yeah, it was bad. It's no more though. I ripped it all out and now I use Tailscale for authentication in Waifud. The high-level idea is to do this. Only have your API visible over Tailscale. Every time an HTTP request is being processed, do a whois request on the remote IP address with Tailscale-D. There is no step 3. And that's it. I implemented it with this middleware that works as an Axum extractor to grab Tailscale metadata out of requests and annotate them with that metadata. It works really well. If you want to prevent people from accessing the Waifud API, deny them access with Tailscale hackles. And then I have a meme. Friendship ended with Pasetto, now Tailoth is my best friend. Oh, I need to delete that. Better name generation with the power of territorial Rotbart. The name generation in Waifud used to be powered by a bunch of JSON files that had a bunch of data that I scraped out of fandom wikis. It would pick one of those names randomly. However, this is boring and not nearly as unhinged as it could be. In Xenoblade games, there are super bosses called unique monsters that are usually very high level, very tough to kill bosses scattered around the world, so you are very likely to stumble into them and get totally wrecked. The naming pattern of these unique monsters is an adjective and a name. This gets you things like Territorial Rotbart, the terrifying monkey of doom that wanders around one of the first areas in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Gormat. This is not unhinged enough to make my trollish heart smile, so I took a look at all the monsters in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and I found similar patterns. There are usually adjectives that modify base monster names, and different adjectives seem to correlate with different strength tiers of those monsters. So I chucked everything into a blender. Then I added some laundry sauce in the form of all the names of baseball players, every Pokemon I could find, All the names of every pony in My Little Pony, and all the names of every pony in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. This is unhinged enough to make my trollish heart smile. If you want to run Unique Monster for yourself, run this Nix Run command. I may release Rotbard as a separate library on crates.io if there is sufficient demand. Waifu Cuddle UX improvements in man pages. Waifu Cuddle had an old version of Clap. This had been fixed with a newer version of Clap. I can generate man pages. Coming soon to a cluster near you. Next steps. These are the things I want to work on next as part of the first release of Waifud, version 0.2.0, Sena Kashiwazaki. Installation instructions. Waifud currently runs in a Tmux session on one of my development machines. I need to stop doing this, but I am still actively working on it. When I get to a point where I am happy enough with it to not actively work on it all the time, I will get it working on my home lab and then write up how to replicate that. This is badly needed for other people to use it. Finish the admin UI. The admin UI should be feature complete and be able to do everything that the Waifu Cuddle command can do. Some kind of crappy marketing site. It would be cool to have waifud.ziso.net have a bunch of shitposty marketing speak to try and hype people up for wanting to use it. This will also end up being the home of the online documentation for the Waifud project. I hope the project will be mature enough to accept outright contributions at this point. Isekai. It would be neat to move the metadata lookups into some kind of metadata service running at 169.254.169.254, like you do in AWS. I've been calling this idea Isekai and was thinking about implementing this component in Go and having it manage its own WireGuard config with the user space network stack, so it can have the magic IP address 169.254.169.254 all at once. Write a sphere packing algorithm to spread load across the cluster. This isn't needed for version 0.2.0, but it would be nice to have some kind of algorithm automatically suggest a machine to run a new instance on if you don't specify one. I call it a sphere packing algorithm because trying to put compute jobs into computers is like trying to pack spheres in a box. It works, but not too well. Relicensed to MIT. Waifud is currently licensed under the terms of the Be Gay Do Crimes license as a way to ward away companies from using it in this early state. It's not in an early state anymore, so this license isn't helping as much. I hope this look into what I've been doing with Waifud and the like is interesting. I want to make this a tool that I want to use every day, and I hope that I can eventually make it into something you can be happy with using every day as well. Zserve Public Cloud win. Go, why not Rust? There's a good reason why Isekai would probably be in Go, and that's because basically all the code for doing that has already been written in Go, and like I don't have to like wire up a network stack manually. There's already code to do it. And I've actually written a good part of Waifud metadata D before when I was prototyping it in Go. Or Isekai D when I was prototyping it in Go, so I can just pull that out of the Git history and, revitalize it. It's not a big deal. But yeah, it's progress report number 2. Paint the orange site red in a week. This is a bit of a longer article, so I'm going to make it... I usually make my longer articles patron exclusive for a week, just to drum up hype that way. When I get off stream, I'm also going to upload this to YouTube and link the VOD in here. Because I can do that. All I have to do is add the VOD to the to the front matter, and it'll automatically get linked. It's really nice. But yeah, I think I'm gonna stop the stream now. I've been going for like, 3 hours, yeah. And I hope this was interesting. I've been trying to do more like engineering log style things where I explain like what I've been doing and the thought process behind it. I don't think we're gonna be raiding anyone. I don't like Twitch raids just like as a concept, so I tend to not unleash them on people. You know what? I'm gonna put the meme somewhere just to shitpost out a bit. Big fan of the engineering log style post, in case that was not clear. Actually, you know what? Let me link you to something that you might also find interesting. Another one of those engineering log style posts. I worked for Tailscale, used code It Just Works for a free year of Personal Pro. And I wrote a article of putting Tailscale on the Steam Deck where I describe, the problem. It's just a PC. It's not just a PC. And, I break down the entire problem of trying to install things on the Steam Deck without, it just getting mysteriously deleted when an update happens. And I go over, like, a whole bunch of options and some use cases that I found. Do check it out. And remember, use code It Just Works for getting a free year of Tailscale Personal Pro. Okay, you can't put Tailscale in a flat pack. I should probably edit the post to add this, but you literally can't put it in a flat pack because Tailscale needs access to root permissions. I think I had something on there. Oh, I do. If it were possible, I would love to distribute this as a flat pack, but it's not possible. Tailscale uses some low-level kernel networking primitives, and the Flatpak sandbox understandably blocks us from using them. Even if we could use those primitives, Tailscale is a system service on Linux and not a GUI application. Even on platforms where Tailscale has a GUI application, there's still the system service running in the background. Flatpak doesn't allow you to run system services. It's one of those things where, like, all the questions people have about my shirt is answered by my shirt. Anyways. Thanks for watching. Hope this all was interesting, and I'm gonna go publish this. Be well, all. Stay safe out there. Definitely don't get COVID. It sucks. Peace.